Welcome to the Artifications production of Creative Currents, where we'll explore the Connecticut art scene by way of the many waterways that traverse the Nutmeg State. Today, we're going to check out the sights and sounds around the entrance to Connecticut's longest waterway, the Connecticut River. Join us for some fascinating discussions around the history of the area and the local figures who contributed to making the Connecticut River a reflection of the world's changing artistic and economic landscape. Throughout history, first societies always sprang up around waterways. Connecticut being no exception, these waterways became the people's highways and hunting grounds. In 1635, the first European settlers recognized this area as part of the Saybrook colony out of England. Maritime trade would begin in earnest by 1700, with Essex on the river's western shore becoming the main port for all of Saybrook, churning out thousands of seaworthy vessels. Across the inlet sits Old Lyme, where subsistence farming was the name of the game for generations. Years later, artists would endeavor to capture over and over again the majesty of the area's light. When it comes to the creative legacies of Saybrook Colony, no two towns tell the story better than the village of Essex and the town of Old Lyme. We begin by focusing on the village of Essex. Essex, Connecticut, once a regional shipbuilding powerhouse, is now a quiet riverside town with historic houses lining the entire half-mile of Main Street. One cannot discuss the village of Essex without mentioning the Connecticut River. It is so central to the development of not just this area, but the entire river corridor. But how large is this corridor? We turn to Elizabeth Kaeser, Executive Director of the Connecticut River Museum, to learn about the impact the river had on this area's development.
We are currently standing on the third floor of our historic steamboat dock building, which is the home of 3 floors of exhibitions that explore the history of the Connecticut River. The Connecticut River is about 410 miles, so it runs from the tippy top of New Hampshire, almost at the border of Canada, all the way down to Long Island Sound, passing through Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, where we are now. It takes about 410 miles to go from source to sea, and we tell all of the stories of those 410 miles and of the 12 to 14,000 years of human history that have existed along the river.
The museum itself has 3 floors, a dock, and a massive educational component worth examining. A marker outside shows the height of past floodlines, reminding visitors of the river's power and the town's enduring connection to it. The first floor is welcoming, with an exhibition space loaded with historical dioramas. They range from the introductions to the region's early settlers, a deep dive into the War of 1812 when the English set fire to 28 ships in the harbor while leaving the village practically unscathed, and a life-size reproduction of Bushnell's turtle. That's right, the world's first fully functioning submersible was created here in the Connecticut River by then Yale student David Bushnell in 1775. The second floor explores the development of commerce along its banks. See for yourself what was traded and where, including a variety of ships in miniature that carried goods from the Connecticut River all throughout the world. The third floor is dedicated to hosting seasonal rotating exhibitions. This show is called Watermark and showcases 4 artists, each from one of the 4 states the Connecticut River calls home. Each of the 4 artists was asked to respond to the natural and built landscape, environmental changes, and people's relationship with the Connecticut River and its valley. Director Kaeser tells us more on how the river was central to the village of Essex's economy.
Really, the origin story of the economics of this region really begin with shipbuilding. So over the course of several hundred years, somewhere around 4,000 boats were built on the lower Connecticut River. And those boats went everywhere. Now, a lot of those boats are staying slightly more local, so they're trading down to, originally the southern colonies, they're trading into the West Indies, but there are boats that are global and are part of a much bigger economy. The ship captains, the shipbuilders, they're all making a whole lot of money. And as part of that, as you have that shipping economy growing, and as the Industrial Revolution is ramping up, we begin to see more stuff being made in Connecticut. So there is a whole lot of manufacturing, tooling that gets made here locally. Two really big products were witch hazel and ivory, and there were factories for both. The building that we're in right now was used as a storehouse for steamboats that would come and take products that had been manufactured locally and transport them to New York and then to markets further abroad. As the steamboat era comes to an end with the arrival of trains and eventually the automobile, you begin to see that places like this sort of get left behind in that next wave. And so Essex, as you push into the 20th century, really changes from being an economy based on making stuff and shipping it to an economy that's much more based on recreation, on using the Connecticut River as a place for fun and for exploration. It really becomes sort of a place for tourists and for, sort of delighting in this beautiful place that some of us get to call home. If you want to learn more about the Connecticut River Museum, you can find us online at ctrivermuseum.org.
When it comes to contemporary art, Main Street does not disappoint. A combination of new thinking art and old world architecture leads to a charming combination. You will soon encounter the Connecticut River Artisans Co-op. This is Connecticut's oldest arts cooperative. The store features a vibrant mix of locally made art, jewelry, pottery, and glasswork, with a special focus on fine art. You'll always find it staffed by a lovely cooperative member eager to answer all of your questions. On the other side of town, just next to the roundabout, you will find the building for the Essex Art Association. This charming converted schoolhouse has been home to the association since 1947. That's 1 year after its founding by a group of local artists whose inaugural exhibition was held in a local barn. Over the years, this inclusivity-driven arts group has become an arts anchor to the community. While the River Co-op and Artists Association maintain separate artist rosters, the Essex Art Association hosts open exhibitions, juried shows, and provides affordable gallery space to help emerging and established artists connect with collectors and the community. The Pratt family played a central role in the early development of Essex and the surrounding lower Connecticut River Valley. Arriving in the 1600s, members of the family became prominent shipbuilders and farmers. Their shipyards contributed to the region's growing maritime economy, and their extensive landholdings helped shape how the towns expanded over the next several generations. This is the Pratt House. It's the only historic house museum in Essex and is cared for by the Essex Historical Society. There has in fact been a house on this site since 1701. It is presently operated as the center of historic programming representing the villages of Centerbrook, Essex, and Ivoryton, all within the town of Essex. Through tours, gardens, and seasonal events, visitors can experience not just a preserved home, but a conversation between the past and the present, specifically through the use of contemporary art. To help navigate this discussion, there is no one more suitable than Melissa Josefiak.
I am Melissa Josefiak. I'm the director of Essex Historical Society. Essex Historical Society, or EHS, is a private nonprofit that operates year-round programming here in the town of Essex, Connecticut. So a historic house museum here based in Essex. We are open to the public June through September, and we demonstrate life in a seaport town here on the Connecticut River. We offer a number of year-round programming at the site as well, A lot of it is based on hands-on history and programming for children of all ages. Pratt House is located on 2 beautiful acres. It's a location that is unfortunately underused, and we wanted to attract some more visitors even when we're not open to our location. And we're doing that in a number of ways, creating a pocket park. We have a pollinator garden, we have a kitchen garden, we have picnic tables. People can use that at any particular time. And we also wanted to ask some questions. Here we have our fantastic historic location, but people are still using it. 21st century people are still using it. And to invite a little bit more engagement from the public and have them ask a few more questions about the site, we've reached out to contemporary sculptors and offered them 6-week, 8-week, almost a residency on our lawn to say, what kind of sculptures do you have that could invite the public onto this site, and also look at the juxtaposition between this 300-year-old house as well as contemporary art. And now that it's been so successful, in fact, inviting some other contemporary artists to town, that we are very grateful that artists are starting to line up for next year's installations. To learn more about Essex Historical Society, please visit our website at essexhistory.org and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Just across the river from Essex, you will find Old Lyme. Today's Old Lyme is small and mostly quiet, with picturesque views around each charming corner. During the mid-1600s, some of the Saybrook colony members moved across the river in search of fertile farmlands. Over time, this disconnect would lead to their own self-administration, and eventually into the formation of the village of Lyme, named after Lyme Regis, a historic seaside town in the Dorset part of Britain. And there remained a quiet agrarian village for generations. But during the 1800s, Old Lyme started getting a different kind of attention, the creative kind. Artists were beginning to descend upon the area in search of artistic inspiration, and they would find it in the area's light. Here, painters captured the very landscapes that had shaped the region for generations. Most of this recognition is attributed to one singular figure, that of Florence Griswold. And her story begins here, in this house on Lyme Street. Welcome to the Florence Griswold Museum in Old Lyme, Connecticut. Born in 1850, Florence Griswold was born into a family deeply rooted in the town's history. Around 1900, she inherited the family boarding house on Lyme Street. She welcomed visiting artists into her home, offering them a place to live, paint, and be continually inspired by the adjoining river, gardens, and light-filled landscapes. Over the decades, her boarding house became the heart of the Old Lyme art colony, attracting some of America's most celebrated Impressionist painters. After her passing in 1937, her home and grounds were preserved, and by 2000, it had become the Florence Griswold Museum, a living testament to her generosity and the artistic community she nurtured. To help us understand the influence Florence Griswold and her artist colony had on the art world, we turn to Tammi Flynn, Director of Communications at the museum locals affectionately call FloGris.
So the Florence Griswold boarding house is our jewel on the property, and that's where artists came to stay. So a little bit of background. Captain Griswold was a packet boat captain, so they were very wealthy for a time being. Then that industry sort of modernized, and he didn't modernize with it. So later on, where our story really starts, is 1899, and at that point, Miss Florence opened up a boarding house, and this was a very respectable thing for a woman of her stature to do that time period, because leisure travel was getting a little bit more accessible for all classes. So in 1899, Henry Ward Ranger, an artist, came, and he was traveling on a train, and he he said, I need to get off. This scenery that I'm passing is just incredible. So he got off and found Miss Florence's boarding house and just loved it. The next summer, he recruited a lot of his artist friends to come, and a little bit later, the Lyme Art Colony started, and that's what we're known for. So the Florence Griswold Museum has 12 acres on the Lieutenant River. This is Miss Florence's property. When she passed away, she didn't have any money, so the artists tried to buy the property for her, but they couldn't, and there was a judge from New York who did. So he built a house on the river, and basically that's all he wanted out of the property. Luckily for us in art history, he left the house to Miss Florence, and she could live there until she passed. She passed a year later, and the property just was shut up for many years until the artists could buy it back. They formed the Florence Griswold Association with the townspeople and bought her property back, and that's sort of the start of our history as a museum. If you'd like to know more about the museum, please visit online florencegriswoldmuseum.org.
Farther upriver, you will come upon a special bluff where art meets architecture, turning this river valley into a stage of creativity and craftsmanship. Welcome to Gillette Castle. Completed in 1919, Gillette Castle was a lifelong project of one William Gillette, best known for his role as Sherlock Holmes. The castle, built of native stone and timber, was designed entirely by Gillette himself, every door latch, window, and passageway reflecting his inventive spirit. This 184-acre estate is now a state park and showcases a world of imagination, complete with hand-carved details, a miniature railroad, and sweeping views of the river. Today it stands as a monument to individual creativity woven into the natural beauty of Connecticut's landscape. Thank you so much for weaving this tapestry of the lower Connecticut River, from the docks of Essex through the luminous meadows of Old Lyme and up through the storying towers of Gillette Castle. The Connecticut River Valley tells one continuous story of imagination and community. It never really stops either. Here, history and art flow together like the river itself, timeless, creative, and alive. Thank you for joining us here exploring Connecticut's creative currents. If you like what you've seen so far, please like and subscribe. This has been Artifications.